Okay, Running USA people, welcome back to another edition of Running People Sitting Still. Our guest this morning is the one and only Rick Nealis. He is the director of the Marine Corps Marathon Foundation and all of the races that they do down there. Mr. Nealis, how are you doing? Good morning.
Hoorah! You know, there's a good Marine Corps greeting. It means a lot of things, but I'll tell you, this is special. What a day for us to do a little chat, because in 24 hours, I'll be putting about 500 people across the start line, and it's going to feel good. I'll tell you, it's a little scary. It's almost, you know, I've been in the business for 28 years after doing 20 some years in the Marine Corps. And, you know, I've never gone 10 months from a live event. I mean, normally every 2-3 months we're putting on some kind of event. And of course, I think one of the things you probably want to address this morning is the effect of COVID on our industry and putting on events. And so tomorrow we're doing the Crossroads 12K. We have a Bella Wood 8K, and then a Recon Ruck. And you can see it's Marine Corps names that go on our events. It's tied to our history. And yeah, it's a good day. And so thanks for having me.
Of course. So today is a day when number pickup will happen. I mean, this is I believe these are hybrid events. So there is an in-person component, and then there are other folks who are competing virtually. Is that right?
TK, this has changed. So if we were talking, you know, right after the Running USA convention, you know, when we were out in Vegas and you and me, it's sitting down and chatting, I would have told you that I was approached to do virtual races and didn't want any part of it. You know, I really believe that it's the live portion, it's the camaraderie, it's the bringing together, you know, all the people that love our sport, and that's what makes us special. And but I would tell you today that as we're going into the future, you have to embrace the virtual component. Right now, the running community is. So that I'm telling you from a positive, they're trying to do their best to keep us afloat, keep us vibrant and sharp, and you know, and really from a Marine Corps marathon being a federal government quasi entity, how I'm organized, you know, we do all our government contracting about 9 months in advance. You know, it's because we use government contracting. Sure. I don't have the luxury that some of my other counterparts have, where they could maybe wait 30 days, 45 days before an event. They have a local t-shirt vendor. They have local vendors. So for us, inventory has always been based off 100%. The Marine Corps events almost historically have sold out. So from a business standpoint, back in February, I always knew exactly who was coming to my start line. When I say there's 30,000 people at the Marine Corps Marathon on October 25th this year, that would have been true because that's what we have. The permit is based off of finishers, not registration. But that's has changed the ball game of how we go forward. So one, I am pro virtual. Two, I think the running community at the moment is embracing us. I do think, like anything, we're probably saturating them. I worry about price gouging. And sometimes I think as runners that become organizers, we forget our roots. And I always go back to my roots. I'm a Marine and I'm a runner and I'm a marathon finisher. And I worry, you know, when I see, you know, that, you know, some races going into the virtual arena are into the $100 category. And as a organizer, I can't fathom where they can justify those prices. So I guess maybe I got ahead of my soapbox a little bit, but I believe that we need the virtuals. And if we can do a hybrid, And I am very fortunate. And again, what I told you about contracting, that might be a negative for me because I have to order so far in advance. I would tell you that being the government and having Marine Corps Marathon organization's headquarters on a federal reservation in Marine Corps Base Quantico allows us on a federal reservation really to put our event on tomorrow. We're following we're following the Virginia guidelines for safety, and we're doing all the right things. But you know, where it might have been a little bit more selling that we wanted to put events on during at this time, having it on a reservation and having Marine Corps leadership know and really believe that there's another side of this, you know, of what we do in our industry. You know, we've always talked about health and fitness. We always talked about, you know, running helps me lose weight, running gets me faster, running keeps me healthy. But I would tell you now that more than ever, what I'm noticing and what I think going forward is the mental piece, that people have been coped up. They've been looking for an outlet. So if we can give that to them as race organizers and do it in the safety confines of the spacing and all the other challenges that we're going to have, then I think you know, we're helping society, because there's people craving, you know, to get out of the house and just get around people. And I'll tell you, you know, I mentioned that the Marine Corps Marathon, you know, weekend is 30,000. If we have a talk and, you know, and you have to sometimes, you know, pull me back in because I got a couple soapboxes, but 30,000, I don't know if we're ever going to be back there or anytime soon. So all the large races, I think we're all going to have what is that magic number? So when I was planning for this year's Marine Corps Marathon, we had brought it down to 12,000. So we had already said, okay, we're going to make 18,000 defer, go virtual, give them refunds, and then we're going to put these 12,000 loyal runners on the start line. And this is how we're going to do it. But to do that, you now have to have a 3-hour start. And, you know, and in the marathon business, when you're shutting down Washington, D.C. for 8 hours, 10 hours, you're not going to get another 3 hours to shut down bridges and so on. So now you have to get really creative of how you get people across the start. And one of the fallouts for me was the 14-minute pace time was going to go to a 12-minute pace time. So now we're losing some of the people that we love, the back of the pack that really needs our sport. So we got some challenges going forward, and that's probably a mouthful that I gave you on a number of topics. But that's where, you know, over the last couple months, I tell you, I probably have the thought process, the planning process, how do you make it all work? How do you keep the community, you know, supportive of us? Because, you know, we all know we brought major economic impact, and, you know, and we're the ones who put hotels in business and airlines and restaurants and you know, all the disposable income that our runners bring to our, you know, our shoe companies and clothing companies and so on. So, you know, if any way we can bring that back quicker in 2021, then I'm all for it. But I do believe that the big races, I don't know what the sweet spot, you know, to do 500 even on a federal reservation, you know, we're doing 5 people a minute. That's my start line, starting at 6 o'clock. We have a corral. We have a corral. I have 6-foot X's on the deck with the circles. We're going to put the people in the corral. They stand on the circle, and we call up 5 people every minute. There's 50 people in a corral. It will take me 10 minutes. The next 10 minutes, we bring the next corral up. And so what would take me a normal last year on this race, I had 1,500 people on the start line. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe. It's going to take us close to 3 hours, on, tomorrow. And I can do that because I'm running through the woods and the trails of Quantico, and basically the general is allowing me to basically I have all day. But that's the changes. That's some volunteers are out there longer. So I mean we got to. Sometimes we probably took them for granted a little bit. You give them a shirt, you give them a candy bar, but we got to do more for them because they're going to be out there longer. So I'll stop for a minute, catch a breath. But you can tell this is really good subjects, good topics, and I'm glad you and me are at least talking about it and trying to get the word out to everybody.
Yeah, correct. And I appreciate your insight. And I mean, it's just exciting that this weekend and today there is a in-person thing that you are helping to organize. And I think your insight of 5 people per minute and 6 people apart, I mean, that was the type of visual thing. If I was flying a helicopter over the event, what would it look like? And you mentioned a few things, volunteers out there longer, just a longer start process. Does everyone get their temperature taken when they arrive on the reservation? How are you doing that?
We've put out the word that, if you have an illness, if you've been around somebody, you should not come. If you raise your hand, a year ago, you raised your hand and say, hey, I want a refund. We probably would have said, no refund. Didn't you read the fine print? Now 100% refund. I mean, it is such a joy to be in a business, today, where, at least from my standpoint, like I go back, I remember my roots, and I always tell my staff, how would you want to be treated? And if somebody raises their hand today and say, you know what, I'm not really comfortable, with the virus and so on, here's your money. Thank you. Hope we see you in a couple months. Yeah. So we're doing the mass. The runners are all going to get, for the first time, a Marine Corps Marathon branded mask. So they don't know it. So when they get their finisher's medal on Saturday morning, as soon as they get the medal, is the second thing is the mask, and then the third thing is the water, and then the hospitality bags. But I paused for a minute because you said you had that helicopter, and you're looking down, and I'll tell you what you're going to see. Much more, a bigger footprint, spaced out. Because we're doing this 2.5 hour, 3 hour start, we actually sent the runner if you're not going out at 6 o'clock, if you're going out at 7 o'clock, show up at 6:30. If you're going out at 8 o'clock, please come at 7. You might miss the Marine Corps marching on the colors. You might miss the chaplain's prayer. You might miss, the singing of the national anthem, and those things are going to fall out. We're not going to have the award ceremony, standing on a podium, 1, 2, 3, getting a handshake from the general and the colonel. No beer garden. So you finish. Last year, I mean, we sat around, we were bringing pizzas in and all kinds of food. It was a celebration. It was a party at Marine Corps Base, Quantico. Tomorrow, you finish, we ask you, to exit, and so we are making changes of how our sport, interacts, and hopefully we'll bring those pieces back because, we have a beer sponsor that wants to sponsor the event, but right now we can't. And so we'll go through this. This was going to be a training evolution for me. And I'll tell you, not only am I dealing with COVID, but by having an event on a base during this time of what's going on in the world, is that Marine Corps Base Quantico is at a heightened level of security. So one of the things we had to do was every runner of showing up had to send in their information. So we ran checks to make sure there's nobody a felony. So all of a sudden, if the next day TKU told me, hey, can I get a refund because I can't get on base, I probably know that you're probably a felon. And no, but
yeah, that's that. But that's a cause for refund, right? I mean, someone can't get, right.
And, so we had 3,000. No, no, no. Don't be scared. No,
Runners.
no, it was a little humor, race director humor. But so what they have to do today is after they filed their data, before they go to packet pickup, we direct them to the visitor control center to get their 1-day pass. So tomorrow morning when they show up at the gate, they got a pass. If they don't have a pass, they're not coming on the base. So it's a little bit more stress for our runners because, it's not like the old days, just pull up 5 minutes before a start line, get out of your car and jump in. They got to do some planning and kind of work with us because, this is not your race from 2019. No. Life is different.
That's right. And I think that the runners they're probably excited to come back to do a race, but yes, it's a little more nuanced now where there's more steps to go through. And also don't show up 3 hours early because we're not ready for you. Right. Yeah. It's a staggered thing.
Because nobody's going to talk to you.
Right. Right. I'm sure your pre-race communication has been thorough and instead of going to thousands, you're going to hundreds and hopefully you have a receptive and obedient sort of group of folks who are there to enjoy the event. It is a transitive time. It is one that calls upon the resilience of a lot of organizations. I'd say the U.S. Marines are as resilient, as adaptive as an organization that there is. As a longtime Marine yourself, what lessons of adaptation, collaboration, and attitude? I think attitude's so important now. But what are some of those lessons that the running industry might need as we?
Well, you said the runners had to be obedient. Let me tell you.
It's a big ask.
Well, it's not going to be a problem on Saturday. It won't be a problem at packet pickup. When you have a Marine Corps drill instructor telling you stand on a square, you stand on the square. It just happens. Somehow magically.
Magic.
And I'm afraid that when I shoot the gun and tell them to go, they won't listen to me because they know that Marine Corps drill instructor is really in charge, not that race director, Rick Nealis. So we'll have to work on that tomorrow, kind of tone down the how we give commands and orders. But so go back to your question. I'm sorry.
It's just a tough time. I think for a lot of folks, they're calling upon they're realizing how tough, how resilient they need to be here. The Marines adapt and overcome and
I would like to jump in on something that just struck me is that and this is my attitude with the virtual and our runners and our sport. Honesty, integrity, belief. Those probably, before I would have talked about dependability, physical courage, physical mental toughness. Now I would tell you that we need to look at honesty. And, when we do this virtual world, it's a couple of ways to go about it. But my approach is, one, to keep the costs down, and two, to mailing 10,000 packages that we've never done before is tough. A lot of companies are farming that out. We're doing it in-house to keep, basically keep people employed and so on. But I would tell you that when a runner says, I'm going to run a 10K, we're mailing his shirt, his medal, his goodie bag, whatever items and I'm getting that to him on the integrity that I believe that runner is honest to me and that he is actually going to go and run that 10K and he's going to earn that medal. And I know there's probably going to be, those few that say they ran a marathon, but they didn't, and, and shame on them. And, but that's the approach I'm taking, because I know some of the other race directors are kind of wrestling with the finisher's medal. And should you have 2 mailings and then you have twice as much postage? And so I'm going on the honesty and integrity, and I will deal with how we go, because, Boston, I believe, maybe they haven't come out with it, but I think it's, being still the, how do you qualify to go to Boston when nobody's holding live events? And I'm sure they're not going to take virtual times. I don't think they are. So going forward, it will be interesting to see how they, what's they're going to be their approach, because, they're at a higher level of, on the plateau that we look at. I mean, the Marine Corps is the people's marathon. I'll do anything for the people. And I'll give you an example. Sunday, one of our runners who was training for his first marathon ran 18 miles in our virtual in May, has deteriorated to a level 4 cancer, and just doesn't look favorable, of going into October. So we're going to run, his runners' friends are going to run about 26 miles for him. And then 2/10 of that mile, we're going to put Francis in a wheelchair, and we're going to put him across the finish line. And I'm going to give him a medal, and I'm going to give him, we're going to thank him for being part of our sport. And he would have done it if he didn't, get this cancer. But, I think it's the right thing to do. I get the prestige of the medal. I really do. And we don't cheapen it. But I think so this is the things that I think, in this COVID, in this environment, that we don't lose who we are, as a people. And people talk about, we got to love more and hate less. And I think, and that's exactly it, is that if we can make an individual happy, that should have been a marathon finisher, but the cancer's probably not going to allow that to happen, then whatever way we can make, his life better on earth, in this short time, and let's do it and get behind it. So I'll be doing that on Sunday. So after putting on a race on Saturday, that's how I'm going to spend my next day, just trying to give back to the sport.
You said you think it's the right thing to do. I know it's the right thing to do. That's great, and you are to be commended. Enjoy it, and you've got a busy week ahead of you, Rick. Good luck with everything today, tomorrow, Sunday. We'll be watching, and we're thrilled to have you leading the way here this weekend. So.
Thanks, TK. This was great. You got me. You got my juices going. Not that I needed to get pumped up for this weekend, but this is what a great feeling. I keep telling my staff, 10 months between events. And I know you're hard to believe, but I'm getting to be an old guy. So the bones and things are getting rusty, and so I got a lot of oil cans coming around tomorrow to keep me going. A little Geritol. So we'll see.
Hoorah! We'll have a great day tomorrow. Good luck.
Thanks, Steve.
We'll be watching, and we know that you'll do well there on the reservation, and be in touch as we move along here. Rick, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.